Decided the ultimate build for Scum. Maybe. There's a couple of variations, so I'll put you through it real quick. First things first, you need to figure out if you're more of a dexterity or an intelligence person, okay? Or if you don't have any interest in dexterity at all. So the first thing that we're going to be is you want the 3 intelligence because you want to have your max stats because they don't have any way for us to upgrade them yet. So 1 dexterity, 4 strength, 4 constitution. Okay? In this setup, you'll either go 80% brawling and 80% melee weapons, or vice versa in basic and medium standing. This will give you about, 200,000 points. It's going to take you like 4 or 5 hours to max out brawling with this. And I think from medium to advanced was 12 hours or something before. I don't remember exactly. It might have been less. Because with melee weapons, you can stack up multiple bodies, because I do remember that. With this, I would do running at 80%, endurance at 80%. This is going to get you to medium endurance pretty quick. And then running, you're going to be a little bit slower, but not too bad early game. Then dexterity skills with this, I'm going to go into stealth. If you don't have any interest in stealth, you're going to go to driving and motorcycling. If you want to try lockpicking, you can get this thievery up here and level up the rest of this to get to medium, and that's going to be like the base starting level there. But with this build, your goal is basically to get your strength up. You're going to get as much strength as you can so that your brawling and melee is really strong, and then that's going to allow you to crowbar things faster, which then is going to be used to level up your thievery skill with your crowbars. Is the essential thing that's going on here. And then when it comes to the intelligence skills, you either go maxed camouflage, because early game, that's when you're going to get the most advantage from using camouflage, ambushes, traps, everything else. And also with the addition of NPCs and stuff being affected by camouflage, it's in the tooltip when you look at it. I think stealth and camouflage are going to be more and more important as the game advances, because if they start putting bigger and badder creatures out in the woods, you're going to need ways to protect yourself, and this is probably going to be about it unless you run fast. Conversely, you could drop this down to like 80% and then take survival skills, or you can go like 73%, I believe is one more, and get survival skills to there. And then with this, you're going to be able to drop down on the ground, instantaneously build your first kit, which is going to be your bag, your quiver, your bow, and your axe, and then like 12 arrows or however many that you want. And then right then you'll be right at about basic survival. So if you can get access to thread early, like if you know how to get thread really quick, I think having survival right here is pretty good, because it means as soon as you hit the ground and as soon as you get your character equipped, you're ready to go for the most part. All you need is thread and then to kill an animal, and you can craft a big backpack. This is mainly going to be for like servers that have really low loot settings, though, not the ones that have really easy loot skills. Like all the official servers, even the hardcore server, it's fairly easy to find bags and stuff. It's not a big of a deal. But now with fame being such, more of an important factor in the game, this is becoming a little bit more of a deal compared to the way it was in the past. Even on the like official hardcore servers and stuff, it wasn't hard getting money in the past at all, but now you have to keep your fame up. If you die, you lose fame. So I'm assuming you'll lose access to those traders if you lose the fame. I haven't tested it, but that's my assumption. And then you need money to respawn, which would be fairly easy to get on the official servers, but if there's a big PvP heavy server, I could see people running out of money potentially. The other thing that I would say here, though, is that if we go back here and you don't care about intelligence or dexterity, I'd probably go 1.5, and then you can either go up to 2.5 or 1.5 here, and go for like medium thievery or something along those lines. Or you can go ahead and bump these up and get like 5 strength, whatever you want for the most part. I could potentially see 5 strength being good. Dexterity, though, if you want that stealth or if you want that thievery, because medium thievery at the first could be pretty good. Low loot servers, demolition early could be good as well, because you can start making pipe bombs faster. Whereas right now, like, you're going to have to build a flag and then try to upgrade it, all of that before you can get your hands on anything, which would slow you down tremendously if you're not planning on building a base right off the bat. And then still the same thing could apply with these. So if you do this, you could still keep these right where they were before. And then now you have basically 2 basics that you can put in another skill slot, which would be okay. Or just put that there, you know, no big deal. But the big thing with strength is that you got to get to 8 strength if you want to max your strength out, and that's going to be a big grind. So getting as much strength as you can is going to help you get that out of the way quicker, for sure. It's probably going to be the longest one to level up, I would assume. Yeah, I would assume that would probably be the hardest thing to level. If you do this, though, you could still take stealth. If I was going to do max strength, though, I think stealth would be okay, but if you don't have camouflage, stealth still works, but I'd probably go more for like driving and motorcycling or thievery with this. I think this is a big toss-up too when you come to like, say bunkers and things with mechs. Stealth and camouflage together allows you to like sneak in and set up ambushes and stuff inside of those bases, which is pretty nice. But if you don't have that, then, I mean, usually it's just better to go like medical. So at least medium medical to advanced medical. And that way if you get shot by a mech, you can patch yourself up pretty quickly. But this medical becomes a big deal when you're like running around the mechs. And the fastest way to really loot and deal with a bunch of stuff in those bunkers seems to be just like triggering the mechs, running around, and then just hope that you don't get grazed for the most part. But it's still a risk. The other build I would see is if you were going to do... Well, I mean, you can always do the 5 intelligence, 5 constitution build. That's the one that's going to give you like... Or you can do 5 intelligence, 5 dexterity. It just depends. Because that's going to give you the biggest party size. You don't have to level up your intelligence. You're going to be able to get like advanced engineering and stuff early. That's like the sniper build. So if you go intelligence with constitution and then max your endurance, you'd be able to make your character super skinny and more calorie efficient than most other things. You just won't be able to carry as much. And then you can take things like sniping if you want. You can take camouflage, engineering. I'd probably do like advanced engineering and then camo, probably. The reason being here is that this is going to give you access to armor-piercing rounds easier, which is going to be a big deal. Other than that, I mean, you could go demolition because you can't really afford to get into melee combat, so having explosives to help you out close range could be good. But stealth is probably still one of the better things to get here because you're also going to be lighter weight. But you can go endurance or you could go running. Endurance is going to reduce your calorie usage, but running would be able to kind of help you out with a lot of your problems that you're going to have here. And this is going to give you a higher health total early, as well as a little bit of fat to burn off. And then here, I mean, you can go rifles or something. You're not going to be super strong, so you'd probably go basic rifles, basic handguns, or something along those lines. So at least you're decent in close quarters once you get those guns. Otherwise, you could potentially buff this up and try to level those up faster, but I think basic would probably be the most suited just for a standard dude running around. If we're going to do this, you go basic stealth, basic demolition. That way you can get access to some grenades. So you're going to be able to craft a base, you're going to be able to craft the ammunition you need, and you'll be able to craft the explosives right off the bat. that you'll need for combat if people get near you. I think it's a fairly decent setup that you could use. And then conditioning wise, it's just whatever you want here. The other one, I'm trying to think of what it would have been. It was probably 4-4. And then 3 on the dexterity. This is if you don't care about your intelligence stats for the most part. Here I'd probably go for medical, trying to get the medical up as quickly as possible. Because this character isn't going to be stealthy, isn't going to have the ability to stealth or be super quiet. He's going to be fairly strong, fairly fast. You can still do the same split for whatever you want here. So you go 80%, 80%, whichever direction that you want. And then here, you'd probably go thievery. Or you could go stealth. Or you can do a split. It's really up to you. But I think this is the kind of build that you would set up for someone that's like fast, wants to get into the action early. Because that 3 dexterity is going to give you more movement speed than someone else that doesn't have the dexterity at the very beginning of the game. And then you're going to be a little bit stronger than anyone that has 3 strength, a little bit healthier than anyone that has 3 constitution. You're going to be a little bit faster, or be able to fight a little bit longer, do a little bit more damage, you know, and then dexterity is just going to help you kind of get a little bit more additional speed. This lack of intelligence isn't going to be the biggest deal. If they allow us to level up our intelligence later, then you can easily finish leveling medical up to medium or whatever. Engineering, survival, and awareness won't be too hard to level. Sniping isn't the biggest thing. Cooking could be potentially something really useful because you can reduce the cook time, but I don't think there's any major negative to your cook time really at the moment, although it would help. Farming could potentially be a big one if you're going to be like the skinny character as well. You could do farming, but for the most part, I mean, farming seems like it would be more of a mass production sort of thing, you know, like the more that you have, the faster you're going to get more experience. So it's probably fine. But I think these are probably the top builds that I could think of to use. If you didn't want to care about the stealth and you went for this thievery, I think this would be very good for just general build play. But if you didn't care about thievery so much, you could easily just take this to medium, which is going to help you out with most things. And then just go and put stuff in your basic, like, driving and stuff that you could use. You could go, like, basic into all 3 of the driving skills. Or whatever you need, because there's potential for them to, like, make the plane harder to fly or something in the future. And this would allow you to use all the vehicles, as well as cut down on your overall consumption of everything. So I think that's not too bad. Otherwise, I mean, if you weren't going to go for a sniper type character with higher constitution, you could do the 5-5, but I'm not exactly sure how useful this would be. You'd be kind of very, very weak early. You'd probably still go basic handguns, basic rifles, or I guess you could go basic archery to help you out pulling that bow back, because there's going to be problems there. And then probably here you go like endurance as best you could, and then thievery, engineering, and then you kind of have a lockpicker type character. But I don't think this one's going to be as beneficial as having the constitution and intelligence character. But for my overall setup, when everything's finished and they have leveling in the game, I'd probably do 4, and then 4, and then like 1.5. 1.5 would probably be the thing. Something like that. But I could easily see just dropping all of this for dexterity early. Because if you're not going to use the camouflage, like the camouflage is the main skill in that intelligence tree that seems to be the biggest thing. I know awareness is a bigger thing too, but it's not as hard to level as some things that you have in the game. So I think the intelligence leveling would probably be the biggest thing that you could do. And then if you did 4-4-3, you can get advanced lockpicking early. You could get advanced stealth, you know, plus that additional movement speed right out the bat, which would be really nice. So your character would be pretty fit. But I think this would be a pretty solid build. Otherwise, you know, I think 4-4-1-3 is good for just playing the game normally as is right now. And then for me, we're still going to go 80% brawling, 80% melee, 80% into running, 80% into endurance. We will go into stealth in the bottom, which is the big one, and then we will go into camouflage. So that's going to give us probably, you know, the stealthiest character that we can have early. But if we by chance could figure out how to get thread very easily early, I would drop this down, I think, to here, and then pull up the survival. That way that you can go right into crafting the water container and the crafted backpacks and stuff. I think that's a pretty important deal. And then this would be 73%, so you're looking at like 270,000 experience points in camouflage, which, you know, it's a little over twice of the 0 to medium level. It wouldn't be too hard, I don't think. Probably about 5 a second. So let me look. Let's go 270,000. Let's divide it by 5. And then divide that by 60. It's like 15 hours that would take you to max that. So I don't think that would be too bad. And you could do that just passively as you're doing things while you're leveling stealth or whatnot. And then also this level would be probably decent enough for you to survive early game. The problem with this is just I have a problem trusting the camouflage with it not maxed out. So if you're going to use it as soon as you hit the ground, you might go ahead and just max it out and then just position yourself to where it can start gaining skills. And then basically while everyone else is looting, they'll be slowly leveling their awareness, but they shouldn't be able to keep pace with somebody leveling camouflage at the very beginning. It just doesn't seem possible to me, unless they're actively leveling it to like Advanced Plus. Then they might actually be able to surpass you, but it would be hard enough to do, you know? But the big component of this is that if it affects NPCs. So I don't know if it's going to affect the puppets, but the hunters and stuff could be really big. If they're let loose in the forest, this could potentially save you at some point, or allow you to set up ambushes and not worry about them showing up and killing you. So I think that would be pretty decent. So I'd probably just keep that. Survival skill we can actually level up fairly decently just crafting arrows and stuff, so I'm not super worried about it. But this gives you basically what I think a good solid just start would be for the most part. This is a little bit more quiet than other players for sure, but it's going to take a little bit of time for you to lose your dexterity weight. So as you're losing your weight and your dexterity is going up, you can slowly level up your stealth as you go along. And then usually when this gets about to this level, or like 60%, that's when you can actually get fairly close to puppets before they even wake up. So I think that's a pretty big deal in general. And then also it's going to help you with your, you know, camouflage while you're crawling around on the ground and stuff, as far as I know. So I think that would be pretty good. Everything else I think you could level up for the most part on your own. But the strength skills would be the biggest toss-up, because if you want to be the most efficient in combat early into the game, I would probably go for melee weapons. But if you want to be the most well-rounded character, or you want to make your life easier to where you can be the strongest like melee character later on into the game, I think heavier brawling and then medium melee early would be pretty big. The main thing here is that the melee weapons, most people are going to take like advanced rifles or archery or something. They don't really worry with these too much. But the highest I've seen a lot of people like build anything is be medium melee weapons. So, I mean, you might be slightly worse with melee weapons in this setup, but you have 1 extra strength over all those other people. So you're fairly well-rounded there. And then it's not going to take you too long to level this up to medium. Like, it's probably under an hour. So be on par there. And then brawling-wise, you need 20,000 points. So that'd probably take you an hour or so to get to advanced brawling. It would make you a pretty deadly fighter. but most people don't put any points into brawling in general anyway, so it's not necessarily needed. You could easily go medium brawling with like advanced melee weapons, then you'd be better with your melee weapons early than pretty much anyone else in the game. And then brawling wise, you wouldn't be a slouch because most of them don't have any points there. So you'd still be able to fight with brawling, it just wouldn't be as good. And then you could easily get it up to medium pretty quick. And then after that, it would take you time to level up. But the main difference is that brawling takes a lot longer to level up than melee weapons does in the grand scheme of things, because you can only hit one person at a time with brawling. But combat-wise, it's probably more efficient, I would guess. It's kind of hard to say. But melee weapons, you could probably get it leveled up. Like, if you're hitting 3 bodies or something with melee weapons, I mean, you could probably get it done in like 4 or 5 hours if you really wanted to. Like, just stabbing bodies or something. But I think if you use melee weapons often, you'd be able to level this up pretty quick. But you'd still need 1,000,000 points. And I'm trying to remember, because I think it was like 19 or something was the highest experience that you got for melee weapons in the past. So I don't fully remember. I think it was like 3,719 or something like that. If it is 19, that's like 14 hours of leveling to get that finished. Like just 14 hours attacking a body. But if you're hitting multiple bodies, you could half this down. So if you hit 2 bodies, you can get this down to like 7. Which actually wouldn't be bad at all. And then here, you'd be really strong as a melee fighter. You got the extra mass from the fat as well, so I think that potentially helps you out early. All of that, I think, is pretty good. And those are the builds that I think are probably the best, depending on the character that you want. So y'all can feel free to try those out. Message me about it if you want. Tell me my thing is terrible. But I think that's just a well-rounded thing. You don't need weapon stats, really, to, like, help you with guns early. You can use a crossbow early. That extra strength that you have there, the 4 strength, is going to help you pull back crossbows faster than someone with 3 strength. So you could level your rifles with that fairly easily. The extra strength is going to help you aim with your gun as well, so you wouldn't need as much recoil, but I think it's more for the vertical recoil. It's been a while since we tested it. The main thing is just weapon-wise. If you are, you know, fighting somebody in melee combat, it's probably going to be more about skill or who has, like, the better weapon in general, I would think. Whereas, like, if you have nothing to fight with and all you have is your hands, would you prefer to just completely be dead or have a fighting chance at winning, you know? And I think having a fighting chance is the better way to go. Like, if someone else had a melee weapon and you had your fists and you couldn't run, at least you can feel confident in your ability to throw punches, for the most part. And then, if you do manage to knock them down or something, perhaps you can take their melee weapons. Or like stuff like this, you land on the ground, you don't have time to get a weapon. Like, yeah, you're not going to be able to fight a whole horde of puppets with that, but it's not that bad just to punch somebody in the face and get it over with, and not have to worry about this when you get into the game is the other big one. Because, like, just that fight right there, we got 283 points. So, over time, we'll get this done. That means 5 fights or so would be like 1,000. So we need like 200,000. So you need 200. You'd need basically 1,000 fist fights with skinny puppets. Okay, to max out that melee skill, or the brawling skill, which won't be too bad. And then with melee weapons, you're going to be able to do more than that. Speak of the devil. So, depending on your melee weapon and where you go, like in a bunker or something, you're going to be able to kill puppets, and then you could level off of them by hitting them. Since you can hit multiple at the same time, it's much easier to level it compared to brawling. I don't know how good the sledgehammer is. But although our sledgehammer ability is not going to be as strong as the player with like advanced melee skill, we do have one more strength than they do. I don't know the percentage increase, but it has to be fairly significant, I would think. Plus, we can lift more with this. Yeah. So that was one fight with Sledgehammer. We got 67. So we got 7 off of that. So from basic, you're going, so it's 3, 7. And then it's going to jump up after this. So it's probably like 13 or 16 or something. But if you have multiple bodies, you can get that going. Like right here, if we're getting, was it 7 and we need 2,000 points? Or is it 2,000? I mean, 20,000 points. We're getting 7 per hit. Yeah, so that's under an hour of combat to get that procced, and then I'm assuming this is going to go up to like 13, so let's redo this. So we'll do 1,000,000 and we'll do like 13, because I think it's something like that. So that's going to be 21. But if you're hitting 2 puppets, that's going to be more like 10. Whereas like if you're trying to level up your brawling skill, it's not. Gotta find this chicken, boys. Northeast. And camouflage is going to be better for hunting too, so you can just kind of sit and listen. could definitely see a need for leveling up your survival early, though. Or awareness. Anyway, try out the builds, let me know what you think, and any suggestions that you would have to change or alter it.